On the news tonight, state government reiterates commitment to partnering security agencies in safeguarding lives and properties. President Bola Tinubu approved national policy on health migration. Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria threatens to cripple the activities of states that refuse to implement 70,000 naira minimum wage. Abroad, Africa's continent's top health body declares mpox public health emergency in Africa. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight. My name is Eunice Emiazia. The state government has reiterated its commitment to partnering security agencies in the state towards safeguarding the lives and properties of residents. The State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Ifeanyi Swaza, gave the assurance when the State Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Bright Edafe, visited him in Asaba. Bridget Agetu reports.
The State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Ifeanyi Swaza, noted that the state was peaceful despite few security challenges in some parts of the state, adding that the state government was doing its best to ensure that the security and welfare of the people remain the primary purpose of governance. He solicited the cooperation and support of all to enable government to resolve all security challenges facing the state.
The issue of kidnapping is something that is embarrassingly high now in the state, and the government will make sure that they do everything possible to give the security agencies all the assistance they require towards making sure that we can cut this kidnapping. As a government, we will keep doing everything within our powers towards making sure that the police and other security agencies are up to date in terms of equipment and materials that they need to work.
The State Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Bright Edafe, said the visit was to seek collaboration with the ministry in fashioning ways of making the state safe and peaceful through proper dissemination of information.
And I try not to propagate the command. So parents, whenever we have the chance, they should look inward and observe these early signs.
Bridget Agetu reporting.
President Bola Tinubu today presided over the National Council of States and CS meeting at the State House, Abuja. The meeting, which is the first of such since President Tinubu assumed office, took place at the council chambers with former President Muhammad Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan in attendance. It commenced shortly after midday and was attended virtually by former heads of state, Generals Abdul Salam Abubakar and Yakubu Gowon. Also in attendance were Vice President Kashim Shettima, President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, some state governors and deputy governors. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo and ex-military President Ibrahim Babangida were absent. The inaugural NCS meeting discussed the state of the nation, particularly its economic challenges. The Council of States, which is a statutory body recognized by the 1999 Constitution, plays a crucial advisory role in the nation's governance. It comprised the President as Chairman and the Vice President as Vice Chairman, with all former Presidents and Heads of State, all former Chief Justices, President of the Senate, Speaker of the House of Representatives, all State Governors and Attorney General of the Federation as members. In another development, President Bola Tinubu will tomorrow depart Abuja for Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, on a 3-day official visit to honor the invitation of President Teodoro Masogo. A statement today by the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the President, Chief Ajuri Ngelale, said President Tinubu would hold meetings with his Guinean counterpart and sign agreements on oil and gas as well as security. Prior to the establishment of formal relations between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea, there had been a long history of informal relations between both countries, while the proximity and maritime borders between them increased the migration of citizens, resulting in intermarriages. In 1968, following the attainment of independence in Equatorial Guinea, the two countries formalized their relations, and the Nigerian consulate in Malabo was upgraded to a full embassy in the same year. President Bola Tinubu has approved the national policy on health workforce migration to address the challenges facing Nigeria's health human resources. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Patu, disclosed yesterday, said the policy was more than just a response to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals, adding that it was also a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and reverse health worker migration. The minister noted that central to this vision was the Nigerian Human and Health Resource Program, which set a framework for regular reviews of working conditions, first ensuring that health workers, especially in rural and underserved areas, received the recognition and rewards they deserved. Many Nigerian healthcare workers leave the country for greener pastures, leaving their colleagues to contend with additional workload and extended call hours. The push factors, according to them, are inadequate equipment, worsening insecurity, poor working conditions, and poor salary structure. The management of the National Youth Service Corps NYSC has debunked reports circulating in the media regarding the payment of 70,000 naira minimum wage to corps members. A statement signed by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the Corps, Mr. Eddie Megwa, told corps members, parents, and the general public that no directive had been received from the relevant sector of government responsible for raising the allowance of corps members. The statement noted that corps members already knew the approved channels and mode of communication in the scheme and should therefore ignore misleading information. It admonished corps members not to allow mischief makers play on their intelligence. In 2020, the NYSC increased the allowances of corps members from 19,800 naira to 23,000 naira, months after a new minimum wage bill of 30,000 naira was signed. Late last month, President Bola Tinubu signed the new minimum wage bill into law, increasing the national minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. President Tinubu's move followed months of talks with labor unions, which insisted on a new minimum wage in the wake of the fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the naira, both steps ballooning the cost of living. The 70,000 naira will also be reviewed every 3 years. The new law comes as the cost of living soars in Nigeria. The country's inflation figure hit 34% in June this year, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. The Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, ASCSN, has threatened to cripple the activities of states that refuse to implement the 70,000 naira national minimum wage. President of the association, Shehu Mohammed, gave the threat yesterday during the association's 5th Quadrennial Delegates Conference in Lagos, where he emerged as the new president. He urged state governments to implement the new wage to improve the standard of living of their citizens, since the incomes of state governments had continued to rise following enhanced allocation from the Federal Account Allocation Committee, FAC. Mr. Mohammed pointed out that states could achieve this by reducing wastages and blocking leakages of government funds, advising them to embrace the policy of indexing their incomes to correspond with the rate of inflation. The Secretary General of the Association, Joshua Apevo, earlier argued that following the increase in allocation from the Federal Account Allocation Committee, FAC, since the removal of fuel subsidy, the state governors should immediately implement the new minimum wage to improve the standard of living of their citizens. In a solidarity message, the president of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, Mr. Festus Osifo, promised to support the new executive to ensure that the interests of workers were protected. He urged the new leadership to put the interests of the union and those who elected them into office above every other consideration. Nigeria has further climbed up the ladder in food insecurity, moving from 4th to 2nd among countries with the highest number of people battling with food insecurity in the world. A 2024 Global Report on Food Crisis, which accounts for 59 countries, places Democratic Republic of Congo as the country having the highest number of people facing food insecurity in the world at 25.8 million for a nation with a less than 100 million population. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation with over 220 million people, has more than 24 million people who are food insecure and plunged into hunger. Other countries among the top 5 nations that are faced with food insecurity include Sudan, Afghanistan, and Ethiopia. The report highlighted conflict and insecurity, economic shocks, and extreme weather conditions as major drivers of food insecurity, noting that in 2023, almost 282 million people in the 59 countries experienced high levels of acute food insecurity, requiring urgent interventions. In 2016, Nigeria was 4th among countries with the highest number of people facing food insecurity, but rose to 2nd in 2017. It, however, sharply fell to 8th position in 2018. Nigeria is presently contending with severe food shortages as food-producing regions are plagued with insecurity challenges which have forced farmers off their farms in search of other jobs. Economic reforms by the government over a year ago, removal of fuel subsidy and devaluation of the naira have sent prices off the roof, squeezing the already squeezed Nigerians. These fiscal imbalances have seen the country's headline inflation surge to 34.19%, while food prices have continued to rise, leaving many with nothing to eat. The government has rolled out measures to douse the pains of these reforms. However, the palliative measures are yet to cool the prices of staples already up in the market. Still to come, Africa's continent's top health body declares monkeypox public health emergency in Africa. Details of these and more after this timeout. Please stay with us.
Learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Give your child Bonvita. It contains essential vitamins and minerals that support mental and physical vitality. Bonvita. Prepare them to win every day.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. You're watching the Delta Television Main News. The global scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for Africa to be given a permanent seat at the UN Security Council as part of reforms to correct historical injustices. The Security Council, the 5 permanent members of which are China, France, Russia, the UK, and the US, has long been criticized for representing the realities that prevailed at the end of World War II, when much of Africa was still under colonial rule. The African Union has long been pushing for the continent to have 2 permanent representatives on the Council and an additional 2 seats as non-permanent representatives.
Permanent members being favorable to at least one African permanent member. The United States said so. The Russian Federation said so. China has been positive in this regard. The UK and France too. So for the first time, I'm hopeful that at least a partial reform of the UN Security Council could be possible for this flagrant injustice to be corrected and for Africa to have at least one permanent member in the Security Council.
The debate was convened by Sierra Leone and its president, Julius Maada Bio, who made the case for the continent. The United Nations Security Council has significant responsibilities, including authorizing peacekeeping operations, imposing international sanctions, and determining how the UN should respond to conflicts around the world. Iran has dismissed calls from the United Kingdom and other Western countries to refrain from retaliation against Israel for the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran last month, amid a flurry of international diplomacy to de-escalate tensions. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to stand down his ongoing threats of a military attack in a rare telephone conversation yesterday. But Mr. Pezeshkian said retaliation was a way to stop crime and Iran's legal rights. Israel, which did not say it was involved in Haniyeh's assassination, has meanwhile put its military on its highest alert level. The US has warned that it is preparing for a significant set of attacks by Iran or its proxies as soon as this week, and has built up its military presence in the Middle East to help defend Israel. The powerful Iran-backed Hezbollah movement in Lebanon is also threatening to retaliate over Israel's killing of one of its top commanders in an airstrike in Beirut. Mpox, the high infectious disease that is used to be called monkeypox, has been declared a public health emergency in Africa by the continent's top health body. Scientists from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said they are alarmed by the speed at which a new strand of Mpox have been spreading. Since the beginning of the year, more than 13,700 cases and 450 deaths have been recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The virus, which can cause lesions across the whole body, has spread to other African countries, including Burundi, the Central African Republic, Kenya, and Rwanda. The declaration of a public health emergency will help governments coordinate their response and potentially increase the flow of medical supplies and aid into affected areas. Health chiefs outside Africa will also be monitoring the situation to assess the risk of the outbreak spreading further. On July 29, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control said the risk from the Mpox virus was very low in Europe. Mpox spreads from animals to humans and between people through close contact with someone who is infected, including through sex, skin-to-skin contact, and talking or breathing close to other person. It can cause symptoms such as fever, muscle aches, and lesions across the body. If left untreated, Mpox can be deadly. There are two main strains of the virus known to exist. The milder one caused a global outbreak in 2022 that affected Europe, Australia, the United States, and many other countries, and was mainly spread through sexual contacts. The second more deadly strain, endemic in Central Africa, is behind a new recently discovered variant in DR Congo. There are 3 vaccines that exist, but only people at risk or who have been in close contact with an infected person are usually able to have it.
It's now time to join our business news desk for more stories from the business world.
Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced the reintroduction of several key economic reports, stating its commitment to transparency and accountability in the nation's economy. The report includes the Purchasing Managers Index, Business Expectation Survey, Inflation Expectation Report, and other critical macroeconomic indicators. A statement today by the Acting Director of Corporate Communication in the CBN, Mr. Sidi Ali, said the move was part of the CBN's ongoing data enhancement initiative and was designed to provide stakeholders with timely and accurate insight into Nigeria's economic performance. He said the PMI which evaluated the health of the manufacturing, services, and the agricultural sector, along with the business and household expectation report, were essential tools for understanding the country's economic climate. The Apex Bank said the report would be periodically released on its official website, making them accessible to the public, policymakers, and the business community. It therefore encouraged economists, analysts, investors, the media, and the general public to utilize the report to gain a deeper understanding of the nation's economic dynamics to foster a more inclusive economic discourse. Nigerian states have faced escalating fiscal pressures in the first half of 2024, collectively spending 139.9 billion naira on external debt servicing, a 122% increase from the 63.06 billion naira spent in the same period last year. This sharp rise is largely attributed to the naira's devaluation, with monthly debt servicing costs more than doubling from around 9 billion naira to over 20 billion naira. Kaduna and Lagos State were the most prominent spenders, with Kaduna allocating 23.08 billion naira and Lagos committing 32.44 billion naira over the 6 months. Kaduna witnessed a nearly threefold increase in its external debt servicing, rising from 9.89 billion naira, an increase of 133%. Lagos State, another major economic hub, also saw a significant escalation in debt servicing costs. The state's external debt servicing costs surged from 16.88 billion naira in the first half of 2023 to 32.44 billion naira in 2024, an increase of 92%. These two states paid 40% of the total external debt servicing costs for the period under review in 2024. Similarly, Cross River and Bauchi State experienced considerable increases in their debt servicing obligations. Cross River's debt servicing costs escalated dramatically from 2.2 billion naira in 2023 to 7.87 billion naira in 2024, increasing by 256%. The naira yesterday appreciated to 1,580 naira per dollar in the parallel market from 1,585 naira per dollar last weekend. Similarly, the naira yesterday appreciated to 1,570 naira per dollar in the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, NAFEM. The volume of dollar traded in the market declined by 23.7% to $246.44 million from $323.11 million traded last weekend. Consequently, the margin between the parallel market and the NAFEM rate widened to 10.8 naira per dollar from 9.01 naira per dollar last Friday.
And in sports, Kylian Mbappe is set to make his much-anticipated debut for Real Madrid at the UEFA Super Cup match against Atalanta tomorrow night at the National Stadium in Warsaw. The Champions League winners will face Atalanta, who clinched the Europa League title last season. Mbappe, who joined Madrid last month and has been on a break following his participation in Euro 2024, will be eager to secure his first trophy in a Madrid jersey. Mbappe is expected to feature prominently, possibly leading the attack with support from Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. on the wings. Jude Bellingham, despite limited preseason action due to the Euros, is also anticipated to start. Madrid will be missing Nacho and Toni Kroos, who have departed since their Champions League final victory over Borussia Dortmund. Eder Militao and Aurelien Tchouameni are anticipated to step into the starting lineup as replacement. Atalanta, meanwhile, have bolstered their squad with recent signings, including the permanent addition of Charles De Ketelaere, Ben Godfrey from Everton, and Nicolo Zaniolo on loan from Roma. However, Gianluca Scamacca will be absent due to a long-term anterior cruciate ligament injury, and Gian Koopmeiners will not feature. Atalanta manager Gian Piero Gasperini revealed that Koopmeiners skipped training as he seeks a move to Juventus, prompting the club to take a firm stand against his actions. The UEFA Super Cup clash promises to be an exciting showcase for new and seasoned talents alike, as Real Madrid and Atalanta battle for the prestigious title. The president of the Paralympics Committee of Nigeria (PCN), Mr. Sunday Odebode, has charged the para-athletes to be good ambassadors of the country, as the athletes departed the country yesterday on a training tour of Germany. Team Nigeria athletes will participate in para-athletics, para-badminton, para-table tennis, and para-powerlifting. Speaking at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport shortly before the athletes boarded, Mr. Odebode, who is also chairman of the para-table tennis, advised the athletes to stay away from any form of vices that could tarnish the image of the country and to always represent the country well at any given time. The Team Nigeria assistant captain Femi Alabi disclosed that they were in a good frame of mind, having been in camp for almost 3 months, adding that the training tour would be a plus for the team with the hope of doing well. Nigeria won 10 medals at the last Paralympic Games in Tokyo, Japan in 2020. President of the Nigerian Basketball Federation (NBBF), Mr. Musa Kida, has revealed that the coach of the Nigerian female basketball team, the Tigress, will be retained. Mr. Kida, who was speaking in Abuja after the team's heroics at the just concluded 2024 Paris Olympic Games, where the Tigress became the first African team to reach the quarter-final stage at an Olympics Games, said Coach Rema Wakama would be retained to enable her continue her rebuilding work. The NBBF president said the coach had enhanced the team's overall play and there was need to keep her to enable her build a stronger team that will compete for international silverware. He added that the team's performance at the Olympic Games was a testament of its intense preparation, strategic planning, and successful blending of both old and new players, as well as the tactical acumen of the coach. The Tigers, which lost in the quarter-final stage of the women's event at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, saw its coach Rema Wakama being voted as the first female coach at the Games by World Basketball governing body FIFA. And our quote for the day: hard work, obedience, and perseverance will always yield results. Hard work, obedience, and perseverance will always yield success. And now our highlights. The state government has reiterated its commitment to partnering security agencies in the state towards safeguarding the lives and properties of residents. The State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Ifeanyi Oswalza, gave the assurance when the State Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Bright Idafu, visited him in Asaba. President Bola Tinubu has approved the national policy on health workforce migration to address the challenges facing Nigeria's health human resources. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pett, who disclosed this yesterday, said the policy was more than just a response to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals, adding that it was also a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and reverse health worker migration. The Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, ASCSN, has threatened to cripple the activities of states that refuse to implement the 70,000 naira new national minimum wage. President of the association, Shehu Mohammed, gave the threat yesterday during the association's 5th quadrennial delegates conference in Lagos, where he emerged as the new president. Mpox, the highly infectious disease that used to be called monkeypox, has been declared a public health emergency in Africa by the continent's top health body. Scientists from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, said they are alarmed by the speed at which a new strand of Mpox has been spreading. And that's our news for tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Eunice Emezia. Good night.